Hi, I'm the Moorlander and this is Moorlander EDC. Now, for the last month or so, a lot of you have noticed that I've been wearing a different watch, and this is from Protek. This is one of their United States Marine Corps carbon tritium dive watches. So they got in touch through the UK company Heinnie Haynes, so this is in a collaboration with Heinnie Haynes, to ask if I'd like to make some content on one of their watches. Now, I'd known a little bit of history, although I'd pretended that I didn't know as much about them, but I know the history behind these watches. I definitely think it's important to stress the history and the pedigree that's gone into this. So I'll leave a timestamp here just in case you want to fast forward and you want to just know a little bit more about the watch, but I definitely recommend listening to this bit. Now, one of the things, and let's call this the elephant in the room, that you'll probably notice about this watch is it does look very similar to another similar style watch to this, that is also a dive watch, that is also made from a polycarbonate material and also has those tritium vials in there. They are the Luminox watches. Now, there's a good reason why this does look similar to Luminox watches. So the Luminox company was started, their founder was Barry Cohen. Barry's been in the watch business and around watches since 89, kind of early 90s. And back then he'd seen these tritium vials that are small, tiny vials made by a Swiss company that have a tritium, which is an H3, a heavy hydrogen atom put into them. And what it does is it allows them to glow by themselves, so you don't have to, like a loom, you don't have to shine light on it. They will glow constantly, or they will fade over 25 years, but they produce their own light. Kind of an epiphany for Barry. Wouldn't it be awesome if this could be included into a watch or something like that, so that it would be constantly illuminated? And that's where the Luminox watches came from. They were Barry's idea to be able to put those in there. Now, Luminox watches became very popular, and they are still very popular for good reason. They're very hard wearing watches, and as I mentioned, that Luminox technology, Luminox? Why do I keep saying Luminox? I mean, that tritium technology that is within the Luminox watches is, it separates them from other just old-fashioned loom watches. So back in 2016, Luminox partnered with a Swiss company, and they worked together to make the watches. But Barry kind of, let's call it retirement, and they separated their ways. So fast forward a few years, and Barry had been talking to the original designer of the Luminox watches, a guy called Eddie Bergener. Now, Eddie had worked, or still works, for Swiss watch manufacturers, had worked with companies like Gucci and Tag Heuer, and even worked on some of their higher end, the Formula One series watches, which had got quite a lot of awards for how nice those watches were and how well they worked. And they'd been talking and mulling it over and decided that it was a good time to get back into it. They started, they designed the watches, got back into Protek, and that's where these have come from. So again, you remember we were saying, there's a similarity between the two. Barry was able to work with the original designers of those original Luminox watches, so that's why you'll see that there are some similarities. But what I will say is, Protek really have been able in the last, so these came out in 2022, just in the last couple of years, been able to make an extraordinarily good name for themselves, even going through the United States Marine Corps testing to become one of their official watches. It says United States Marine Corps on the front, and also on the back here, on the back plate, has the USMC insignia on there as well. So with the original Luminox watches being dubbed the Navy SEAL watches, These are now the USMC watches, which I think is kind of cool in itself. So a very rich and important history behind these, and just how well these are made and how well these have been designed, and the pedigree behind that designing. So hopefully that helps. It just adds a little bit kind of credence to this. Now let's take a closer look at what makes this an awesome watch. Now, quick unboxing here, although I do have the watches out of this. You can see it says on here, rugged at heart. There's the Protek name, all-terrain watches. Just a little bit of information about the Protek. It's a play on words. It's Protek or Protek. The Pro comes from the professionals that this is designed for, whereas the Tech comes from the technology with the tritium that's in this. But then when you put those two together, Protek or Protek, again, these are designed to be rugged outdoors watches that are there for first responders, for law enforcement, for armed forces. So I quite like the wordplay there. But inside, so you open this up, you have a little bit of styrofoam, well, whatever it is, there, and then the watch is inside, and then you've got some information here about the watch, about maintenance, how to use it, and so on and so forth. But let's just put this to one side for a second. And here we have the watch itself, so let's give this a zoom in. Now, apologies in advance. Obviously, I'm filming outdoors, so if this does, if I move this and I get a little bit of glare on it, I do apologise. But I'll keep trying to make sure that I keep this so that there's no glare in it. Now, to give you some of the, let's say, the big headline information on this, the size of the case itself is 42 millimeters across. The depth of this comes in at 13.95. Let's round that up and call that 14 millimeters. The lug width at the top is 22 millimeters, which I think is really nice, mainly because the 22 millimeter lug width makes that if you're after different straps for this, that being able to find other straps is very easy. I will say though that the straps on here, which we will have a look at, the straps on here are very, very high-end and high-quality straps themselves. The case for this, so there's quite a few different bits of materials on here. The case itself is made from a polycarbonate. That is a composite material that they've used 30% carbon within. Now, I did ask about that and ask specifically why 30% carbon was gone for, and mainly they came back and they said it was down to a few things. It was down to the toughness, it was down to the weight, and they thought that 30% was just roughly about right. Now, as far as the weight of this is concerned, it comes in at 73.2 grams. When this is on your wrist, it is nice and light. If you compare this to maybe an all stainless steel watch with a stainless steel strap, it's definitely lighter than those, but it still has enough weight that you can feel it on your watch or on your wrist. I have a strange nervous tick when I have a watch on that every now and again I'll just kind of flick my wrist like that to know that my watch is still there. And having this on my wrist, it's just enough weight that I can get that inertia to go, oh yeah, it's still there. Hey, let's hear in the comments below, does anybody else do that with the watch? Just give the wrist a little flick every now and again. But yes, so the polycarbonate is 30% in there. What it also does is, rather than giving it a super deep black colour to it, it almost has a little bit more of a charcoal kind of look to it as well. On the front, the glass in the front is a sapphire crystal glass, which has anti-reflective coating on there to help with reflection. On the rear, here we have now, so this has been tested by the United States Marine Corps. Sorry, I guess that would be the way to have it there, wouldn't it, with the eagle on the top. So on the back, this is a stainless steel back. that has been pressed with the insignia on there. Now the insignia is raised really nicely, but what I will say is that when you have this on your wrist, it certainly doesn't cause any discomfort. What I'm thinking there is certain styles of watches where they have the heart rate sensors on the back, because they lift up just a little bit, they can press into your wrist and just get a little bit uncomfortable after a while, but I can definitely say that there's no discomfort with this whatsoever. There are some other markings around here. So it says that this is the 316L stainless steel back. That 316L is also the same material that is within the crown here as well. And then it's got your anti-reflective coating on the sapphire crystal, and then on this side it says that the 300 meters water resistance. So that's the back. The bezel is made from the same material as well. The bezel on this is bomb-proof. This is the toughest bezel that I've ever come across. That was one of the things that I was talking to Barry that he was incredibly proud about, and I can confirm this is yeah, so it is a 60 click all the way around, so you get one for every second that you can see on the indices on the face, and the click on this is ridiculously positive. It's like a grandfather clock locking into position every time one of those the sprockets kind of turns round, and there is no play. Now, when I turn this, it will look like there is some play, but there isn't. This is me. The watch moves in the hand. The torque on this, you have to actually turn it to be able to get it, which is daft. You know, you have to turn every bezel in order for it to turn round. But with this, what I can say is, having tested this whilst out walking, bushwhacking, even going to the gym, whilst swimming in this, I've knocked this, and even like just random stuff like, you know, when you're asleep at night, you get into a position, you move your arm, and the bezel turns. It's just never turned. It genuinely hasn't. It is incredibly rigid. But you know, not to overgild the lily, this is one of the best, if not the best, bezel that I've ever seen on an outdoors watch like this. Sorry, I keep noticing that I'm looking at the watch in my hand rather than looking at the watch on my screen, which I think is why we just keep getting a little bit of glare there. So yes, super tough. Now, with the bezel itself, you'll be able to see that there is an indication here at the top. Then we have it at 10, 20, 30, 40 and 50 all the way around. On the inside, on the face, as far as the indices, you'll be able to see that we have one at 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way around to 12, and then on the inside of there as well, for the military time or 24-hour watches, most people do here in Europe and the rest of the world, you've got it there from 13 all the way around to 24. Now there are two different watch faces that they have with this, so I'm just going to bring in this other variant here. So putting these, let's get these back in focus, putting these side to side with each other. Now I do apologise, trying to get these both with no glare is very difficult. So hopefully you'll be able to see on this one, this is one of the USMC watches. So at the top it says Protek, and then down here just below the centre of the hands, it then says US Marine Corps or United States Marine Corps. With this version here on the rear, this isn't one of the USMC versions, this is one of the standard Protek versions, so you have the standard Protek logo. Everything else is exactly the same, still made with the same materials as these, but it just doesn't have that USMC branding on here. So here at the bottom instead, rather than having the US Marine Corps, it says Protek and 300 meters. Sorry, just got that focus. It says Protek and 300 meters. And there, here at the top, you have the Protek P. We'll come back to this in a second when we have a look at the straps. But getting back to the main watch that I've been wearing whilst I've been testing these. So yes, US Marine Corps. One of the biggest things that I certainly haven't touched on yet is the tritium all the way around here. So the tritium uses the ProGlow tritium from Trigalite, which is pretty much the industry standard. You know, they invented this technology. It's been around for 20-25 years now. The vials themselves, so at 12 on the hours all the way around, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 all the way around, you'll be able to see that there is a small vial on there. And then they also have it on the hand and on the hour and the second hand, hour and minute hand, and they also have one on the second hand that you can see going round. To add to this indicator here at the top, rather than this being 0, there is also an additional vial in here. The main reason for that is if you turn this off and you want to make sure that you can see, this is a single directional bezel. So if you need to use this for diving, that you can do, so that you can set that and you can know exactly where you are in the dark as well. As far as the vials are concerned, all of them around the face are green, the hands are green, but the one at the top here on the 12 o'clock, this is in orange. So if you are doing something in the dark, you need to make sure, or if you've took this off your wrist and it's by your side whilst you're in the dark and you need to know which is 12, because maybe this has changed because you've just been diving or swimming with this, then you'll always be able to know where the 12 is. Tritium is an awesome marvel of science. These tritium vials are made so that the tritium is injected into them, which is a heavy hydrogen atom. When it's then injected into them, or at least before it's injected into them, the vials on the inside have a glue agent on the inside, and then they have a phosphorescent additive that's added to them. So as the H3 degrades over 25 years, it produces a radioactive chemical reaction with those luminescent pigments, which then produces its own light. So as you can see here, this is the light that this produces in the dark. Now, I haven't had to do like you would do with other looms, where you need to energize that with an additional light. This produces its own light and will do with a half-life of 12.5 years. So in 12.5 years, this will produce half the amount of light that it did when it first started, meaning that you'll get light from this for a full total of 25 years, which probably will last longer than my wrist. So yeah, super cool. I think when a lot of people got into those original Luminox watches, that's what made them so popular, and it made perfect sense that the father of the tritium watches, father of the Luminox watches, would bring that technology over into these Protek watches. But yeah, super cool. Now the light this produces, these are classed as T25 tritium vials. So imagine the T25 is the volume of the vial itself, which equates to the amount of light that it produces. You can get T25, you can get T50, you can get T100. A T50 will produce roughly twice the amount of light that a T25 does, and a T100 will produce roughly 4 times the amount of light that a T25 does. They do have some different versions of these watches. These do have the T25, but they have a field watch. They also have some other watches as well, which have higher tritium vials in them, if that's something that you choose. So yeah, super nice. Now, getting back to the face itself, I really do love some of the details that are in here. I like the face on this. I recently made some content on the, what was it? It was the Hawk blackout version from Night, and I said the face just seemed a little bit just lacking. This doesn't. I really do like the face on here. It's very easy to be able to read in the dark. One, because of the tritium light, but when you're in low light conditions, being able to see the white indices on here is very easy to be able to see. The hands on here are incredibly accurate. Oh, sorry, one of the things I keep mentioning to mention this, and this is one of my favorite details on this. So as you look around from 12 o'clock to 1 to 2 here, the indices, the minute indices on here, it'll have one of these tritium vials. It'll then have 2 indices, and then it'll have another tritium vial. Just as this hand's coming round there now, as it hits the number 4 is just the left edge of that tritium vial. When it gets into the center of the tritium vial, that's 5, and then when it gets to the very right of the tritium vial, that's then 6. I think it's a very clever use of negative space on the watch. I work in design, and just it's little features like that, little details like that I certainly appreciate. Now, as far as the movement is concerned in this is a incredibly well respected movement. This is from Citizen, and it is one of their 3-hand myota movements. There were a few different ones that they possibly could have used. People maybe should go for Ronda, maybe should go for, well, you know, there's a lot of nice ones out there. They didn't necessarily discount other ones, but at the time when they were looking at this, the Citizen myota seemed to be the best one to go for. And all of the, as far as the second hand, this is moving around, incredibly precise, and it falls on those second or those minute indices perfectly. With, let's say, how about this, with military precision. Do you like what I did there? So yes, very well respected. The battery in this is a 10-year battery, so if you're concerned about that, then you know it's great, it's going to last you. Some of you may be going, well, if I'm paying this much for a watch, I need to have an automatic movement in there. Don't worry. There are also versions of these with automatic movements. I don't mind automatic movements personally. I generally do like just quartz movements. I don't think there's anything wrong with them. They're incredibly precise, and you don't have to worry about taking this off, putting it down, and you know, not wearing it for a couple of weeks because you're doing something else. You can just put it down and it still works fine. Now, I did mention, so if I just zoom back out again, I did mention the straps on here. So this is a very nice strap, and as far as colorways are concerned, now what you'll find with the USMC versions is that the colorways that they use are all, and again, working in design, I love the fact that they did this. These use the USMC Pantones. So when you look at the USMC camouflage, there's this tan color, there's a couple of greens, and you know the colors that make up those. They managed to get the Pantones from the USMC, so this will match identically the Pantones from what's it? If you don't know what a Pantone is, it's a specific colour that has a specific reference, so that if you use that colour, you know exactly that you're getting the correct colour match. Around the inside, on the face within the bezel there, it also has an accent of that brown, and then also here on the crown, it also has the same colour. If you don't want to go for one of those and you want to pick up one of these different ones, then there are, here you can see there's a blue, there's a red, and there's lots of other different colours, but you'll see that the accents within the face here and the accent here on the crown all match as well. Now, I have a 7.5 inch wrist. If I just put this on quickly, and it fits great. Now, if there was anything that I could change about this, and this is only, it's a small, tiny thing. Now, having a 7.5 inch wrist, it still fits. Why am I struggling with this? It still fits with plenty of room. Because this is an outdoors watch, if I could change anything, I would probably add an extra 10mm onto the end of the strap. Mainly because if you wanted to wear this over a jacket or over something so that you didn't have to keep taking this off or lift the jacket up to be able to check the time, I think that would be great. But I'm splitting hairs here. I'm trying to find faults with a watch that, as far as I'm concerned, is pretty much faultless. But if they did just maybe an extra 10mm so that you could get an extra couple of holes on here, I think that'd be great. As I mentioned though, I'm really struggling to try and find any faults with this. With these being 22mm lugs, you can push these in ever so slightly so that you can get into the bar in there, so that you can change this. There are plenty of third-party, larger NATO strap style straps out there that you could change this to if you wanted to. But yeah, the material on the outside, so this is made from 100% rubber. They specifically went for that, mainly because of how durable it is, but also how flexible it is. Well, it wears really well on the wrist. There's a slight kind of stippling texture here on the outside, but on the inside it has this wavy texture. Swimming with this is great. Even just coming out of the shower, you can have this on whilst showering with it, and it will allow water to come out, and it dries very quickly. Having this on whilst I've been at the gym doing circuit training, all of that sort of stuff, just taking knocks on this, it's just flown through like a champion. And also with sweat getting underneath here as well, it's done a good job of being able to get sweat out. Hopefully what you may have noticed as well, that we also have two strap keepers. The first one here, if I pull this back, hopefully you'll be able to see that it does have these little prongs on there so that you can keep that in place. And in the entire time that I've been using this, doing circuit training, all of that sort of stuff, I will say that the strap has never come out of this first one here. It has a few times on this one, mainly because there's just maybe say about 10 millimeters on the end before it gets to that bit, but you're always going to get that. I think again, if this was just maybe an extra 10 millimeters longer. But, you know, at the end of the day, I have a wrist that is reasonably large. If you have smaller than a 7.5 inch wrist, then you're certainly not going to struggle with the strap on this. To be clear though, I haven't struggled with the strap, there's just a little bit. Anyway, on the end you also have, so this is the 316L stainless steel. You also have a stainless steel clasp on here, which I think is nice. A lot of other manufacturers are going through to plastic straps. Yes, Casio, I'm talking to you. So having that on there is good. Last little bit to mention, because I know I forgot when I was talking about the movement on here. The crown on this is water resistant down to 300 meters, which is a godsend if you are wanting to use this for diving. Now, I will say that they have tested this in both water and air to the highest standard that they possibly can do. A lot of other manufacturers, they put them in these specialized containers which help to do that, but they'll only test for air because of, you know, the barometric pressure that would go down if it was tested for that. But they have made sure that this is tested for both air and water to, well, I'm guessing that will be part of the USMC's standards to make sure that it passes that. But you have extra seals within the crown, and I can also confirm, if I unroll this, that it is a screw down crown to make sure that it stops that pressure from getting in there. As far as being able to pull this out, you've then got a couple of stages for whether you're changing the time on here or whether you're changing the date. If I bring this back in again, hopefully you'll be able to see there that there is a date complication just at the 3 o'clock hand, or the 3 o'clock position. I'm just going to screw that in just to make sure I don't forget. Now with that 3 o'clock position, where it says the number 3 has been removed, but you can see there that the 15 for a military hour or 24 hour is still on there as well. These are beautiful watches. I will say that they're beautiful watches, but talking about beautiful, kind of the difference that you get with this is that these were designed, and I love the fact that Barry referred to this as a beta watch. I mean, I talk about cheap Casio watches as beta watches, or Mora knives. They're your beta knives that you just get and wear to do all of the stuff that you don't want to do in your other nice watches or with your other expensive knives. Referring this as to a beta watch really just proves to what extent Protek understand that this is designed to take an absolute kicking and just keep going. And from the testing that I've put it through, I know I certainly can't put it through the same testing that the USMC can, but yeah, this is an awesome indestructible watch. So there you have it. As far as watches go, if you're after something that you want to have on your wrist that one, looks good, two, you can do pretty much whatever you want in it. You don't need to worry about swimming, you don't need to worry about diving, you don't need to worry about taking a shower with a watch like this. They're as rugged as they possibly can be. What sort of proof would you like about it? I mean, I've tested it, I've gone to the gym, I've done all of that sort of stuff, I've been out here, done a bit of airsoft whilst wearing them. That's a pretty good test. Oh yes, and don't forget, it's been through the rugged testing that the USMC expect from a field timepiece that they will give out to their Marines, which is pretty freaking tough. I mean, it's more than I would ever be able to possibly be able to test this. So yes, if you're after, again, a timepiece that will sit on your wrist and will keep kicking no matter how much of a kicking you give it, yes, I think these Protek watches are definitely an excellent choice. Now, I do want to say a huge thank you to Barry for sending these to me. Being a bag geek and a watch geek, being able to sit down, I've had a few pretty cool experiences recently, being able to sit down with other geeks and be able to talk about this sort of stuff. It was really nice to meet the guy behind these, and yeah, it was an honour to be able to talk to him. I also want to say a huge thank you to Heinnie Haynes. Now, Heinnie Haynes and EDC go together like Moorlander and watches, or Moorlander and bags, or Moorlander and the Kingdom of the Moorlands. If you're here in the UK and you're thinking of EDC, Heinnie Haynes are the company that will always come to mind. These are available through Heinnie Haynes. They did send these to me, so I do want to say a huge thank you to them. I will leave some links below so that you can see more from Heinnie Haynes, the other watches and things that they do, but here in the UK, they are the best place to go for these. They're the only place to go for these. So I'll leave their links below, and yes, a huge thank you again, and a shout out to the awesome team at Heinnie Haynes. So I'll leave those links below. I'll leave some of my social media links here on Moorlander EDC and my sister channel Moorlander Tactical. And whether you're watching this on YouTube or Rumble, as always, stay safe, stay Moorlander, and stay EDC. Ordered watches. It was their the EDC and the name Heinnie Haynes just go together like peaches and cream. I was trying to think of a better analogy. What can I say? They go together. Well, I'm the Moorlander. They go together like wallets. Sugar dumplings. So, going back, kind of early 90s, 1989, chicken. I need notes. There's a lot to remember in this one, and I'm crap at reading notes whilst talking. So fast forward a few years after that, and Barry'd still got that itch to just kind of finish off what is Moorlander EDC. Now, a few of you have noticed, I say a few, anyway, chicken. It's not got lots of flies today, hence wearing a hat certainly helps, and it's a Protek hat, which is also really useful. And they're from South Wales as well. Now, my old man's from North Wales. I know there's a bit of a north-south division with Wales, but at the end of the day, it is the land of my father, and I love the Welsh. Half Welsh, so I have to love the Welsh. I have to love the Welsh. They're amazing people, good singers as well, and love a beer or two. Anyway, so yeah, I think this comes out on a Sunday. I do need to triple check. Pretty sure this is going to come out on a Sunday. I think I've got this one scheduled for a Sunday. So I hope you've all had an awesome week, and I hope you also all have a great productive week ahead of you. Only 5 more sleeps and then it's the weekend again, so that's always good. Cool. Right, see you in a bit. Bye.